welcome to the latest episode of A Plus Wrestling here on this crisp Sunday, November afternoon. It has been quite the week. We have tons to talk about. We're going to get right to things. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour. How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. We hope you didn't lose the farm, your house, your shirt on Mike Tyson, or I guess Stipe. Nobody bet on Stipe, though. How you doing, big homie?
I'm doing really good, man. Every single day, I am feeling better. And once again, thank you to everyone who has messaged me. Honestly, these messages just really do just make me feel so much better throughout the week. But little by little, I am getting good. Getting more flexibility on the ankle, still with the boots, still not walking, still non-weight bearing. But you know that feeling of when you really effed up your ankle and it's like really badly sprained?
Yes, I've been there, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of how this feels like right now, where it just feels very tight. And there's pain if you're stupid and do something stupid, but like, the overall pain of like, having a broken bone or whatever, all of that is gone. So overall, I'm feeling really good. But yes, it's been quite the week. Thank you again for all the messages, like I said. But I'm doing really good, man. Off of work, I've decided to kind of take some time off, really focus on my healing, really focus on myself, really focus on other stuff. So yeah, I have, and I had a bunch of vacation time to burn, so I'm off.
Amazing, dude. You can't take it with you, as they say, so you might as well use it this year. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you're feeling better. You look good, Boris. Looks like spirits are high, and we have a couple things to get into this week here on the Sunday show.
We do. Again, we're trying to focus on the topic du jour, as I like to call it. But of course, there's always things that happen in the world of pro wrestling that we're going to want to touch on, talk about. And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing. And Matt, where do you want to start? What are you thinking of? What were the highs? Where were the lows? What the fucks am I watching of the week?
Well, there were definitely some WTFs, some what the fuck am I watching reactions to Tyson, Jake Paul. If you want to quickly talk about that. Did you watch it?
I did. I had nothing better to do. So I had, I have multiple screens, as most people do nowadays, right? So I had the main TV on the Netflix, and everything else was kind of watching on the tablet and whatnot. But yeah, I had it. Only buffered once for like a couple seconds, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really have major issues that a lot of people were facing. It was a luck of the draw on what server you were on, right? And how that load of the server was. And I don't know any technical details on how Netflix does their stuff, but it was just luck of the draw at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, you definitely got lucky there, although you might have been better served not seeing it from the reaction that I saw. I actually did not watch the fight. I am happy to report that I sat this one out, and I think that was the right decision. And I did place a tenner on Jake Paul to win by decision because it was very obvious that was going to happen, I felt, and it did. So yeah, we can opt out of these things, friends. Let's all remember that you don't have to jump off the cliff just because everyone else is jumping off the cliff. You can sit on the sidelines when the thing that's happening around you is fucking stupid.
But here's the thing, at the same time, it's very rare in today's society that we have something that, where we can just put everything behind us and focus on one thing. And whether that be something so stupid and trivial, like Mike Tyson at 58 fighting Jake Paul at 27, or whatever, however the fuck old he is, doesn't really matter. I'm cool with that, man. It just, some people's reactions really piss me off. It's like this whole Taylor Swift in Toronto thing. You know what? Let people have fun. Let people enjoy their life. Yeah. It's very rare that we can be happy and we can just forget about all of the bullshit that's happening, right? So yeah, that's my one thing. Fair. That's what's something I wanted to touch on real quick.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm not trying to be smug about it, but you're totally right, man. That's true. I think like if you were bitching the whole time and you were calling it stupid the whole time, like I was, Boris, then don't watch. At that point, just don't watch.
I didn't. You're not an asshole. Depends who you ask.
No, I'm still very much an asshole. Pretty, I never said I was a good person, Boris. But yeah, man. No, I like. I know what you're saying. And if this is the thing that, like, if you turned your brain off and got to enjoy it and had a laugh and had a couple beers with some friends, salute. Good for you, man. Like, honestly. But yeah, for me, it was not something I was interested in.
You're not being an asshole about it, right? You're not saying, "Oh, Boris, you wasted your time, you dumb fuck."
No, I'm just thinking it inside. No, just kidding. No,
that's fine.
No, legitimately, like if you actually had fun watching that, cool. And like a lot of people, I'm sure, like got together, had some beers with some friends. I was gonna maybe go out to the bar and watch it, but we just never came together. Like my friends and I were just kind of like, let's all just do something else tonight. You know,
exactly.
It just didn't work out. But like, yeah, no, like shame on you if you did watch it. You know what's really cool is that Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor had an amazing fight before Jake Paul and Mike Tyson got in there and did whatever it is that they did. And that was the most watched American sporting event in terms of like a women's sporting event, I think, ever. Like, not just for women's boxing, which it was. That's going to go down as one of the most legendary and important women's fights of all time. And as we go further and further down the whole human society, it's nice to have that moment. Like in 20 years, when we look back on Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, we'll actually be talking about Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, probably. So that's good. That was a positive.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent fight. You know, again, it's just the judges. That decision, though. That decision. Yeah. Was something left to be desired, to say the least. Having said that, you know, it opens the door for a rematch for part 3. And we'll see if they actually do that. But overall, the undercard, much better than the main event. But you know what? Kind of feels like a wrestling show sometimes.
Classic WCW problem right there. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is basically Hollywood Hogan versus Macho
Billy
Man
Kidman.
Savage, but in 1999. Yeah, Hogan Kidman. Yeah, exactly.
Remember that? Remember when we were being told by the Yellow Pages that Billy Kidman was upset and he wanted to face Hulk Hogan and Hulk Hogan refused?
You know what's funny is, like, much like I was on my soapbox a minute ago, I also, as soon as Russo took over WCW and really ran it into the ground, I made a point to like never watch it. I've seen very little of WCW from like 99 to 01. So on, like, while I know what you're referencing, no, I don't. I didn't actually see it. I don't remember it.
I will never forgive Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff for signing Mike Awesome right before I saw him in Buffalo. He no-showed that show, and we knew something was up. My brother and I turned into the law that night because it was on a Saturday, and that's when they broke the news that Mike Awesome's going to probably show up on Nitro on Monday when they do the rebrand. And, well, that's exactly what happened. That's my little anecdote.
Amazing.
Big weekend in combat sports. We had UFC 309 last night. Did you watch that?
I did. I watched every second of it. Well, yeah. Well, you know me, Boris, hardcore MAGA guy that I am. No, I'm just kidding. But isn't it? It is actually like startling how hardcore MAGA, hardcore Republican UFC is nowadays. It's like it's just a Trump rally. I've never seen a sport so politicized like that. And there's a lot of irony in it. But in terms of the actual like UFC, I thought it was enjoyable. You know?
Yeah, it was an overall good card, I think. Right. Yeah, nothing really surprised me per se in the main card. You know, Jones, we kind of knew that he was going to dominate, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
3 rounds in, got the W.
Yeah, Jones looked amazing. We thought that would be the case. Bo Nickel looked pretty good. Got booed by the New York crowd because they're ruthless, and we wouldn't want it any other way from the Big Apple. But yeah, it was a weekend of favorites. Although Jake Paul was not, he didn't get the most money placed on him. I read that up to 75% of bets were on Mike Tyson for that fight, which also was another clear indicator that Jake Paul was going to win. But yeah, weekend of favorites. Jake Paul crushed. Bo Nickel and John Jones crushed. That Roofy guy, the new knockout artist named Roofy, which is amazing in and of itself in the UFC. He was a big favorite. He won. A weekend of favorites. It was, Boris.
Yes, it was. All right, there you go. That was the weekend in combat sports. Let's turn real quick our attention to wrestling. We have tons of pay-per-views coming up. So over the next few weeks, the Sunday shows are actually going to probably be focused on the pay-per-views. Next weekend is Full Gear. We have a preview on that a little later. Weekend after that is Survivor Series, which I'm really looking forward to. Anything you want to talk about before we get into our topic du jour?
It's Full Gear, Survivor Series, then NXT Deadline, then Saturday night's main event, 4 Saturdays in a row. So I believe our Sunday shows for the next 4 weeks will be reviews of all those shows at least, and then we'll keep going from there. I think wrestling's in a very good, healthy place, even though people like to hate on AEW. Overall, it's pretty good. There's some really good stuff happening in AEW and some puzzling, annoying, things that get under your skin as a wrestling fan, but whatever. It's still overall a good product. WWE's on fire. Like, that's been really good all year. So yeah, wrestling's just in a good spot. I think we're kind of in a calm before the storm right now,
I think we are, right? Like, especially, okay, let's look at WWE, right? Survivor Series, we know that the War Games, Bloodline versus Bloodline, and that leads into Royal Rumble, which God knows what's going to happen over the next few months, right? It'll be very interesting to see how everything kind of lines up. And I love the fact that we just don't know exactly what the next WrestleMania main event is exactly going to be. I kind of love that. You throw in John Cena into the mix, right? How is John Cena going to play a factor into this? Is he going to win the Royal Rumble? Is he going to get title number 16 win, right? Like, there's just so many moving parts right now in WWE that for me as a fan, make it super intriguing.
For sure. One thing that I feel like it's kind of sad, but may have happened again, Boris, is I think CM Punk is probably on the outside looking in for a WrestleMania main event again, because it's a 2-night show. Be aware, everyone in the locker room. No, it seems like Punk is being a good boy on his best behavior and is a huge asset to WWE since he's been back. But yeah, it seems like one of the 2 nights is going to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. It seems like we're going to get there somehow. And the other one of the 2 nights, Boris, I truly believe will be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the world title. And I think John Cena will beat him and retire as tied for the record with Ric Flair.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But again, there's so many players. Like, it's so awesome when there are more people and bodies in a division, like the main event division right now in WWE, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, than there are main event spots, right? Like, it's really cool to see. And in that internal competition, that makes it work harder. That makes it work smarter. That makes it work better. That's awesome to see. And it's really cool to see right now in WWE, right? But yes, as you mentioned earlier, calm before the storm. We turned the full page to AEW. Like I mentioned, they're doing good stuff. Not everything is hitting. Not everything is a home run. Not everything is a bang. But they're doing some good stuff. But again, calm before the storm. We're getting into the Continental Classic season, which might not be for everybody. But which leads us into kind of what 2025 is going to look for AEW. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very curious to see where they go with this Continental Classic this year. How Okada kind of... I feel like this is Okada's turn and time to show off what he can do in the ring.
Yes, absolutely. He should sweep the Continental Classic, beat everyone in the finals, beat Takeshita, unite those 2 belts because they're superfluous. There's like a lot of unnecessary titles happening in AEW, but the Continental and International title, that's the most there doesn't need to be both of those. So I hope that Okada beats Takeshita in the finals, consolidates those 2 titles at least, and we go from there. But yeah, I think it seems like Okada's to lose.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? And then if you look at Japan, Kenny Omega has made his re-debut in Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he is going to be challenging a few people on the 4th and the 5th. So to me, we're just starting that building of Okada, Omega at some point in AEW.
Yes, that will be crazy when it does happen, because those arguably the Okada Omega matches are the best matches in the history of wrestling. A lot of people will tell you that. So it will be interesting to see how much they have left in the tank, if they can even approach the level that they hit in 2017.
What do you run back first, Okada Omega or Omega Osprey?
Well, because AEW has already done Omega Osprey a couple times, they did a big feud. They did the crazy match in Toronto. I think you have to, if you're AEW, go Omega Okada.
Like that. I like that. Yeah, so there we go, man. And even if you look at NXT is caliente, caliente, caliente. That women's division, honestly, if I was watching NXT on Tuesday, and I think the first 30 minutes was all women's segments. It was insane. It was all fairly good stuff. That NXT is on fire right now, and the new class of NXT participants started, and Lance Anoa'i. Hey, there we go. He's signed. He's in the Performance Center.
Future Bloodline member, I'm sure. Yeah, this Bloodline angle will last forever in some form. Now that it's here for life, kind of thing. But it'll be really cool to see how he grows. And we're still waiting on Hikuleo to show up.
Yep.
He might be in NXT. I'm assuming he's going to NXT first.
I would assume so. Anyone who thinks otherwise might be a little crazy. Another notable signee for WWE in the Performance Center is Elijah Holyfield, son of Evander Holyfield.
That's awesome. You know, like in the old days, Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon would just be itching to change that guy's name. Just absolutely just waiting to change his name. Hopefully Triple H and Shawn Michaels have the sense to keep the name Holyfield on that kid.
Absolutely. So we'll see. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting what's going on there. But yeah, that is the week that was pro wrestling. And like I say, everyone touches on news, but people asked me last week, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So first little bit of the show, little conversation, little tit for tat, back and forth with whomever is on the round table. Then we're going to get to our topic du jour. This week, a little different. We do have two topic du jours because next week we have a pay-per-view. Still like doing those previews. Matt, let us jump in to the first topic du jour. And this is one of the ones that get your jollies up.
Are we talking Mina Shirakawa versus Haley Cameron? No, I'm just kidding. We're talking the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Two things that get me equally hard. Boris, let's go.
Jesus Christ.
There were 9 acts inducted into the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame this year, Boris. Should I read them out for you, big homie?
Please do.
Okay, so Roman Reigns in. That's a no-brainer. Goes without saying. Shingo Takagi in. I think maybe a little early considering some of the names on the Japanese ballot this year, but sure. Johnny Rougeau, Canadian legend, should have been in decades ago, long overdue. The Young Bucks, even the most cornet-pilled, biggest hater on planet Earth has to say that they're resume is such that they should get into a Hall of Fame eventually. I'm okay with it happening now. Chima, see my Shingo Takagi answer. Like it's cool that he's in. He's a Hall of Famer. Possibly a little too early, but who knows? He was getting in anyway, so I'm fine with that. Los Hermanos Dinamita, Boris. That is, if I'm not mistaken, Cien Caris's group back in the day. Yeah. So the father of Alberto Del Rio there in the Hall of Fame.
No, that will probably be the only family member that goes in.
Oh, yeah, let's just move on. Johnny Saint, European legend. Shout out Paul York, our boy Yorkie. He wanted that one for a minute.
I am shocked he wasn't already in, to be 100% honest.
Same. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. And that one's long overdue, as is Bobby Davis. Long overdue. The original Bobby the Brain Heenan, manager of the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers back in the day. Intelligent, articulate man. You can't find much Bobby Davis out there, but there are a couple promos on YouTube of Bobby Davis, and you can see the blueprint for Bobby the Brain Heenan. So to me, I understand all of those inductees. There is another inductee that I kind of want to touch on because I actually disagree might be strong, but I don't know if I'd have voted for this guy. I question it. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff is in the Hall of Fame. Now, this is notable to me because he was in the modern performers category, not the historical performers category. I don't know exactly where the time cutoff is for that, but Orndorff was still in modern performers. So he made the Hall of Fame ahead of people such as Asuka, Edge, Bill Goldberg, John Moxley, The Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, the Steiner brothers, the Usos, Trish Stratus, and Cody Rhodes. Now, all of the names that I just read off, I think have a case of being in the Hall of Fame ahead of Paul Orndorff. I'm not even saying don't induct Mr. Wonderful, but I'm saying I think a lot of the people that I just read have a way better case than Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is a case of, okay, he's passed away, so let's give him his flowers. Let's give him his kudos now, right? I know he passed away a while ago. It's been, 3 years or something like that. But I think that leads to that, right? Everyone else, for the most part, is still an active wrestler. Trish Stratus is touch and go. But I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's a really good point. Well put. Actually, I didn't even think of that, but you're completely right. That's why he got back into like everyone's mind. That's why the cases started being made and all these people writing down like their ideas for why he should be in and whatever. I just think like if you look at Randy Orton's career, his accomplishments, like I think he accomplished everything that Paul Orndorff did and much more, and has way longer of a run. You look like a Cody Rhodes, has CM Punk, all these guys like the timing of Orndorff getting in when he did ahead of some of the people. But as you said, they're active wrestlers. Orndorff just died not too long ago. I do understand logically why now was his time. And he's another one who I would say the same thing about Shingo and Shima. I guess at the end of the day, he was probably getting in anyway. So why not now?
Exactly. Shingo surprises me, right? Because not to say that he's not Hall of Fame caliber yet, right? Like I just feel like he's in a lot of people's forefront of their mind because he's been having banger after banger after banger in New Japan, right? Like I think that's really helped his case. But yeah, it's Shima. That's an interesting one because I accept that one because what he's done for pro wrestling throughout the continent of Asia, like outside of Japan, I think is huge and needs to be talked about more. The promotions he's helped launch in China and whatnot and other countries, I think needs to really be looked at. So I really do agree with that one.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame to me too. Influence outside of the ring and accomplishments on the administrative side of wrestling. And that's why, Boris, as we said a couple years ago when we had this conversation, I will say until I'm red in the face, the biggest snub this year, Miko Satomura. Yet again, our girl can't get a break. She's one of the great indie promoters of female Japanese wrestling, Joshi wrestling for sure. Incredible in-ring wrestler. Was the best worker in NXT when she was there, the best worker in NXT UK when she was there, even at 50 years old or whatever she is. In the ring, outside of the ring, she has all of the accomplishments. She is a Hall of Famer easily. If Paul Orndorff is in, you got to put Miko Satomura in. I think she is the biggest snub.
The biggest issue with Miko Satomura is the fact that she's not on weekly TV, so people forget about her.
Absolutely. But yeah, I would love to see her back on NXT or Raw or something just for that exact reason. But yeah, she's a huge snub. She's got to get in. I hope she gets in while she's alive and doesn't get, thrown into the historical performer category.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so many people, unfortunately, that happens to, right? They don't get their kudos. They don't get the roses until they pass away, which is great to celebrate them. But there's something to be said when they're alive.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much wrestlers care about this. This is something for the fans to talk about. And even then, a lot of fans hate the idea of anything remotely related to Dave Meltzer, which is silly. But I don't know. I think this is like, for better or worse, this is factually the most important, the best curated wrestling Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Like the WWE Hall of Fame inducts everyone and anyone they want whenever they want, just as a whim. And this is like really the only wrestling Hall of Fame that even attempts to do it correctly, which is why we care a little bit. I think Randy Orton's got to get in, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, probably even Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Steiner Brothers. They've all got to get in at some point, and they will. They will.
Yeah, they will. They absolutely will. They absolutely will. Yeah, overall, like there isn't anything that really. Honestly, Shingo's the biggest surprise for me. He's the biggest surprise for me. Again, not to say that he doesn't deserve it or anything like that, but it's more the timing of it for me. But outside of that, I kind of agree with everything else. Johnny Rougeau is awesome, being Canadian and everything, and the influence he's had in Quebec. And I think people sometimes don't know, because depending on where they listen, just how big combat sports is in Quebec.
Absolutely. That's a really good call. Yes. Yeah. Wrestling is definitely part of that, though it's not a traditional combat sport. Like, it's part of that oeuvre. And yeah, Quebecers love their pro wrestling. And Johnny Rougeau, in many ways, is like the father of pro wrestling in Quebec. Pat Laprade, the great Pat Laprade, did an awesome piece about why Johnny Rougeau should be in the Hall of Fame. And I feel like that kind of pushed him over the finish line this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I saw his Facebook post about that a little while ago, and he's been posting some really awesome stuff about Johnny. It's been really nice to see these people get the flowers. And for people like who know of these people like myself, but I really don't know how big of an influence they had, it's always really cool to see kind of these stories come out and really get a better understanding, and so I can respect that history.
Yeah, that's why the Hall of Fame exists, and that's why it's so cool, because it's a good way to access the history of professional wrestling. It's a good way to tell you who was important and why, and that's why I love this stuff.
Exactly.
Cool, man. So yeah, that's I think that all but does it. I got what I wanted to say. How bad did I butcher Los Hermanos Diamantes? Was that was terrible?
You're getting better since we've been podcasting. Yeah,
that's good.
Your Latin flair is it's non-existent, but it's getting there.
Well, fucking ole, big homie, am I right?
Fucking love it.
Okay, so I guess we should probably preview AEW Full Gear before we get our arses in full gear and hit the road here.
Yeah, we got more NFL to watch. All right, AEW Full Gear 2024 from Newark, your home state of New Jersey.
Yeah, let's go.
Right? Yeah. You and
sure.
What's
his
face is from the same place. What's his face being what's his face?
Yeah, me, Jay Lethal, and Kyrie Irving. Yeah, all possibly born in the same hospital. I might have been in there with. I'm going to say no on that, but the jury's out, buddy. The jury is out. I think it's a no. I'm safe to say I might have been in the hospital with Jay Lethal. He's a 1987 baby from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Not unlike myself.
Getting how young he is in my mind. He's like this old, just this old guy who, I'm not going to say who won't go away, but just like this old guy who's been around forever.
Rude. He has been around forever. That's because he started wrestling at 18 as Hydro in Ring of Honor, if you remember those days.
Oh, I do. All right. Full Gear. AEW Full Gear, Newark, New Jersey, 2024. Currently, there are 9 matches, so expect 20 more to be announced over the next week.
Tony Khan.
All right. So this one's going to be on the kickoff. QT Marshall versus Big Boom AJ with Big Justice. This will put asses in seats.
Is well, these Tony Schiavone sarcastically said once upon a time. So these are YouTube stars. I'm not familiar. They are the Costco guys, right? And it's a dude and his son, and apparently they're just fun loving burger eating people. I don't really know. I have not seen 1 second of their content, nor do I seek it out. But this AJ guy I have read is a trained wrestler. He's done it before. Obviously has had a lifelong love affair with the wrestling business. I'm cool with people getting shots, living their dreams like this. To lose a match or to win a match on a pay-per-view pre-show versus QT Marshall, great. I think that's the perfect usage of both QT Marshall and a pay-per-view pre-show. I think this is the perfect idea. Let's go.
Is this gonna bring all the eyes to AEW? No. But it might get someone interested enough to watch the 0 hour.
Hey man, and that's all that you can ask for. If it leads to even one extra pay-per-view buy, then it was a success, honestly. All you're trying to do is drum up new interest into your product.
Yep. All right, so that's that match. Let's get to other matches. So this one, MJF versus Roderick Strong. It's a one-on-one. Adam Cole is not in this match, just a one-on-one.
Yeah, it's puzzling. Roderick Strong is now a babyface without having turned face because his friend is a babyface. And even though Adam Cole is like a hardcore babyface now, he actually never really turned either.
This
He just showed up one day
story
and was good.
Bothers me because it honestly, like, I don't want to, like, I don't like being those people who are like, you know, this is an insult to my fandom or anything like that. But it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. AEW writers, go watch Cobra Kai. That's how you tell good guy versus bad guy, and good guys flip-flopping and bad guys flip-flopping. Go watch Cobra Kai. Take some notes. Put that into this product. Because honestly, like, I know that AEW isn't good guy versus bad guy in the traditional sense, but you still need a story behind and motivation behind why someone is good, why someone is bad, who we as the fans are supposed to give a shit about, because right now everyone kind of looks like a doofus.
Yes. I've dabbled in some stand-up comedy, Boris, and some of the greatest advice I've ever gotten about comedy is you need to make the audience feel like they're in good hands. You need the audience to feel like you're a professional, you know what you're doing, and even if they don't, understand every twist and turn, or they don't find every word out of your mouth funny, you know what you're doing, you're a professional, you guys are in good hands. And when you're telling stories like this and just missing very obvious, very like clear story beats, when things just happen for no rhyme or reason, it no longer feels like we're in good hands as a viewer. And that's the biggest thing with the Tony Khan's booking right now. It's just there is a lack of creativity a little bit, and then we get like random twists and turns and random storyline beats that don't make sense, and it feels like they don't care. So if they don't care, why should we care?
Exactly. Beautifully said, Matt. That's honestly the way that I see this. Do you want to predict the winner? What are you thinking on this match?
I think MJF will probably win via cheating, it seems like, and it sucks because this really bad, unsatisfying story has hampered what's going to be an incredible match. MJF versus Roderick Strong, that's going to be a fucking banger. Those guys are great.
Yep, and I feel like Takeshi's going to get involved in some shape or form. Adam Cole's going to get involved in some shape or form. I think this one's just going to be just a mess of a match in the most professional wrestling way.
Maybe it could be overbooked, as they like to say.
Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page.
This is another one that I haven't really been feeling because Jay White's motivations are completely unclear and confusing. But having said that, now that he is a babyface randomly for no reason, he's doing pretty well as a babyface, the Switchblade is. And wrestling fans have not seen a Switchblade Jay White babyface run for a long time, if ever. Like definitely not in New Japan. Maybe in Ring of Honor, he was like a bland baby face for a second, but he's been heel forever. So if they would have given him some motivation to do this, it would have been really cool. Having said that, once they get in the ring, these two wrestlers are awesome, and I'm sure the match will be very good as per usual.
Agreed. Again, couldn't have said it better myself. I just find it like, again, this is similar to the previous match where it's just the build-up has been so strange, but we know that they are going to put on a good match. Like we talked about last week, it just feels like 2017 to 2019-ish WWE, right? Like it just where it's like, okay, this is the match, and it's a good match.
Yeah, exactly right. So like once you actually get to the show on the day, awesome. But we're, like you said, we're getting near that WWE territory of don't watch Raw or SmackDown because it'll make you hate wrestling. Only watch the pay-per-views, and actually you'll end up liking AEW, and that's almost where I'm at right now.
I'm the only reason I can honestly tell you I watch AEW Dynamite almost every week is because I cover it for Slam Wrestling over at slamwrestling.net almost
Hey,
every single week. That is, honest to God, the only reason why I continually watch AEW Dynamite. Because sometimes these shows are just such, they leave me asking more questions than anything else.
yeah, just inconsistent storytelling and inconsistent pushes that come either too late or not at all. Speaking of which, Boris, we
Speaking of
have
which, my friend,
the fumbled bag bowl is what I'm calling this one. 4 teams, 4 bags, each one of them fumbled to various degrees. We have Private Party versus the Outrunners versus the Kings of the Black Throne versus the Acclaimed. So I don't know. It seems like it's too early to take the belts off Private Party because they just won 3.5, 5 years too late. They just won these titles. The Outrunners probably need the win because they're the most underutilized in a way. But the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King, as part of the House of Black, have been drastically misused the entire time they've been there. The only one that even got close to right are the Acclaimed, and they waited too long on the Acclaimed, and now the Acclaimed are basically nothing. So, what do you think of this one?
yeah, I don't know, man. This is gonna sound crazy. This is what I would do for the next few months with these teams, and I know this goes against a lot of what I say when it comes to pro wrestling and stuff. But I feel like with all of these teams and this division, it could work. Just hot shot the belt between these 4 teams over the next few months.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I would say maybe even like hotshot Private Party to the Outrunners, give it between them a little bit, and then when you're ready for Malachi Black and Brody King to actually get the belt, they end up with it for like a year or two.
Yeah, like between these 4 teams, because I have a feeling these are the 4 teams that are going to be running the division for a little while. Maybe add FTR in there, but FTR, you never know whether they're going to be around long enough without getting injured or something. Just
Or pulling a gun on a man in traffic.
I was going to say that, but I opted not to. Um, just let's just hotshot it. Let's just go back and forth and then say, oh my God, this division is so good. You don't know who's going to hold the belt this week or this month or whatever it is you want to do, right? But ultimately, I would give it to House of Black. They're so underutilized. These guys just deserve so much more.
Yes, 1,000%. The only thing I worry about is their fruit may have ripened and begun to rot already. Like they may have already missed their time to some degree. And the Outrunners' time is very much now. In fact, the Outrunners are running the risk of losing their moment as well. But if the Outrunners won the tag team titles on this upcoming pay-per-view, people would fucking still lose their minds.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm sure it won't happen and Private Party will retain.
And here's the thing again, that in a 4-way, no one technically gets hurt, even if you take the pin, right? Like that in a multi-person match, you can do it in such a way that everyone looks strong, and the Outrunners could still be the champs coming out. Having said that, we know it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I would be surprised if anyone but Private Party won this match. I also wonder if this is where they will pull the trigger on a Max Caster heel turn.
Well, don't say that around FTR.
Yes, if they will pull the trigger on a pedestrian in Florida. No, I wonder if they will pull the trigger on a Max Caster heel turn, Boris.
You might as well. I don't even know. It does, like, at this point you just don't know, and not in the good way where like you just don't know, right? You just don't know what insanity they have drummed up for this tag team division. Remember when this tag team division was built up as like the next big thing?
Yeah, and they never, another fumbled bag in the tag team division, the idea of the tag team division itself, but they still have the talent. Hopefully they can pick the bag back up.
I'm hoping that that's exactly what happens. All right, the next match for the AEW TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander, where I feel the real story here is what are they doing with Camille?
That's interesting. That part of the story makes sense. But stop us if you've heard this before. Chris Statlander's character, wildly inconsistent, turns babyface and heel for no reason, and thus it's hard to understand or care about her motivations. And thus, this match does not have near the heat that it should. Although once they get in the ring, again, like no one's doubting that the matches themselves are going to be good, but I just wish they could get the storytelling to a level that's even close to satisfying. Because this is Monet versus Chris Stat. This should be a really good match, but they just couldn't. They couldn't get the intrigue there. The intrigue all lies with what will Mercedes Monet's bodyguard do. Cool.
What I find weird is that this match was built on from Monet's debut, but they haven't even told a consistent story since then or reminded us that this has been happening since March.
Yes, yeah, great call. But they need to, they should do a good job of that. They could do a job of telling us that Chris Statlander was the person who dethroned Jade Cargill. She is like arguably the best TBS champion, and Mercedes Monet is coming for that title. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a good match for sure. Monet and Statlander are both really good wrestlers. I'm sure it'll be very good in the ring. I think it's way too early to take the belt off Mercedes, so I expect her to win.
Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley, a match that I'm really, really looking forward to.
Yeah, this is intriguing. I don't know who's going to win this one. I think probably Lashley, right? That would be the betting favorite.
He should.
Yeah, this is his first match in AEW versus a much smaller opponent, albeit someone who is pushed at the highest level in AEW. So,
but physically small.
I don't think physically much smaller, and so I do think it stands to reason in a lot of ways Bobby Lashley will win this first one. I'm excited to see him away from WWE, because in TNA, Bobby Lashley was actually pretty good. He was having some pretty decent matches. Yeah, I feel like he's a little bit underrated as a wrestler. Bobby Lashley is, so this should be pretty good.
Look, the main issue with Bobby Lashley is that he was around when Vince had the hard on, no pun intended, with Brock Lesnar, right? Like, that was the issue with Bobby Lashley's WWE run.
Yeah, let's not talk about Vince and Brock and hard-ons, but you're 100% accurate on that one, man. So yeah, Bobby Lashley wins a match that will surprise a lot of people.
Yep. And I think that it should be one of those cases. This should be one of those times where he, Swerve Strickland should just get his ass so kicked that he doesn't give up from the hurt lock.
Interesting. Passes out in the fullest of Nelsons. I'm for it. The
fullest of Nelsons. Yep, exactly. That's how I would do it. Let's see what actually happens. You know what's going to happen? Swerve is going to win. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't even think that's that bad of an idea, honestly.
What, Swerve winning?
Yeah, if they had Swerve win this match and keep him as hot as possible to stay in the main event scene, I like that. And I'm sure that in the end, Swerve will win this feud, but I think that they could tell a longer, broader, more satisfying story if Bobby Lashley were to win this first match.
All right, AEW TNT Championship. This match, in my opinion, has been hurt from the fact that I honestly do think that they threw an audible with the Young Bucks and that entire story, because Jack Perry's done shit all since the Young Bucks have left. That's Jack Perry, your champion, versus Daniel Garcia. And I really do feel that this match has been hurt because of that. Yeah,
because for a couple weeks there, this was the best built match on the show.
Yeah.
And they've kind of ignored it. They've kind of ignored it for the last couple of weeks, but I do still think that rings true. Like, this is a match that they did actually build properly, that I do actually think Daniel Garcia will win. The right guy will win. And it is time for him to get a big win on a pay-per-view. So yeah, Daniel Garcia wins something that, despite, as you said, the Young Bucks and the Elite have just left for the last couple of weeks and are kind of out of AEW storytelling right now, I do still think this is the best built match, and Garcia should and will win.
He should. Agreed. Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. Robin versus Red Robin.
Yes. That's funny. Robin versus Nightwing? Is that another
Red Robin? I'm not even going to give them the Nightwing status. That's way too high for these guys.
I'm for it. Yeah, Ospreay just makes me sad. Like, and it's not over for Will Ospreay's career or something, but he seems much less popular, much less of a big deal, much less of a must-see act than he did 5-6 months ago. And I think a big part of that is because he loses a little too much. Like, he lost to MJF. He lost an inexplicable title match to Swerve Strickland, which was an amazing match. Of course it's going to be. It's Will Ospreay in 2024. It was an amazing match that should not have happened and hurt Will, in my opinion. And so I would be shocked and a little frustrated if Ospreay lost here.
The biggest issue is that when you build your company around wins and losses mattering, you have to be really careful when you give people losses.
Exactly right. And it's just, yeah. Again, we all know it's fake. Like it's not like a fighter losing a fight or something, but it is just like a momentum stall. It tells the fans, yes, of course. But it tells the fans that you can stop paying attention to this guy because he's not going to be the big show. He's not going to be the main event player for at least a couple months. So I think it's probably a bad idea to have Kyle Fletcher win this match. I know, like, if you want to build up Kyle Fletcher, he needs to win matches for the reasons we just said. But I think Will Ospreay needs this win more. If I were booking, I would let Will Ospreay win this one.
Have Kyle Fletcher beat the shit out of Ospreay after the match, right? That's what I would do. He loses the match, snaps, beats him with a screwdriver.
Sure, I'll take it.
Right? Boom. Everyone's strong. Will Ospreay can hang back and have some Yorkshire pudding for a few weeks back home while Kyle Fletcher tries to do something.
Jolly good, old sport.
And then for the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good match. I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind that Jon Moxley's going to win. They need to keep this story going for a little longer. They can't just have the big bad lose already. Jon Moxley will win fairly decisively. And I'm sure it's going to be awesome. I love Orange Cassidy. I think he's a really good wrestler, and I think he deserves this main event slot.
Yeah. Good. It'll be a good match. You know that this match is going to be insane. We know that there's going to be moments where we say, why did they do this? In the sense of this is going to hurt both of these guys. I'm looking forward to this match.
Yeah, I think Orange is a little bit of that Razor Ramon, Chris Jericho back in the day, like that upper mid card babyface who can afford to lose to anyone. Like he can take an L and rebound and stay exactly at the level where he's at. If they ever want to lift him up, they got a little bit of work to do. But I think he's firmly ensconced as like that upper crust of the mid card, that upper middle babyface who's like not going anywhere. The Tito Santana role.
Olay. Yep, agreed. There you go, AEW Full Gear. It is going to happen next Saturday, November 23rd. I just remembered the next Sunday is actually my birthday. Yeah. A year older. I made it. Didn't die yet.
One wheel down, but that's okay. We persevere. That's the 24th, right?
Yep.
Amazing, brother. Well, we look forward to it. Are you gonna try to go out of the house? Can you try to put some weight on your leg to celebrate?
So I've gone out twice.
Okay.
I just get tired. I just get really tired. I would rather just chill, to be honest, or go to someone's place and kind of do stuff there. It's hard, right? Because something that I've noticed, Toronto is not a wheelchair accessible city. When 90% of bathrooms are downstairs in a dingy basement.
Shit, your apartment is downstairs in a dingy basement.
Right?
Speaking of, if you do want to watch the show over here, we can do that.
There's no fucking way I can make it up those stairs.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, it is a steep and unforgiving staircase. But yeah, fair enough, man. It will.
I would love to.
It'll be
love to.
Yeah.
I physically can't.
I mean, maybe in a couple months or a couple weeks, maybe we can catch Saturday night's main event or deadline down there. But yeah, man, it's going to be a good show as per usual. AEW pay-per-views always deliver in the ring. If you're a wrestling fan, you can always have a good time watching the pay-per-view.
Yep, exactly. Bang for your buck. That's something that AEW does still do. So kudos to them. Kudos to everyone. Thank you again for all of your messages. Thank you for all of your feedback, for all of the listeners. Hopefully people are liking this new format, but like I said, we're just gonna go back and forth a little bit, talk about the week that was, and then we're gonna have a topic du jour, as I like to call it, here on A Plus Productions. We have a busy week. I'm gonna be coming back tomorrow with the It's Canon podcast. Phil and I are actually gonna be going in depth talking about Netflix. We're not gonna be talking about the fight per se, but we're gonna be talking about the technicalities and the technical issues around what happened with Netflix and why people need to be a little more tranquilo before Raw shows up, because as I was telling Matt before we hit the record button, 120 million people are not going to be watching Raw at the same time.
Possibly
Period.
in the entire history of Netflix combined, the entire 10 years they're on it, perhaps.
Right? Like,
But,
like to me, the bigger test, and we'll touch on this tomorrow, not you and I, Phil and I, is the NFL, the Christmas Day games. I think that's a better litmus test for if Netflix needs to do something for live TV.
Absolutely, we shall see. But I feel like this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing was in very much like a trial run, a test of can they handle that huge traffic for a live. This isn't their first live event or live sporting event, right? But
look, a few years ago, 23 or 2, something like that, they tried a live Love Is Blind reunion episode, and that crashed. So I wasn't surprised at all when this crashed, and I'm not going to be surprised when they have issues with the NFL. And by God, I'm not going to be shocked when there's issues during Raw. Do people remember the network when that started? The WWE network?
Oh, man. Remember, like, exactly, like buffering constantly. Like that was a big joke for years and years. You remember how bad the ROH pay-per-views used to be in like 2009 to 12-ish area?
Yeah. Exactly. What's funny is that it was better to watch an illegal stream than it was to watch it legally, because somehow there was less buffering. Go figure. But this is it, right? Like, it was a trial. We'll see what happens. So that's what's going to be happening on the It's Canon podcast. Mel Ball and Andre are going to be coming back this week. They're going to be chatting some Japanese wrestling. I'm not sure if they're going to be talking about the New Japan Stardom X Over Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, but I know that they're watching it. So let's see what we're talking about. But again, next week we're gonna go back and forth a little bit, and we're gonna be talking some AEW Full Gear. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to chat, especially now that I don't really get to talk to many people.
No, well, same, brother. Very nice to see you, and yeah, a busy month, a busy few months of wrestling ahead.
And more importantly, the best and the worst of A+ Wrestling is coming your way. The ballot is ready. We just need to do a couple tests with it, because unlike Netflix, that bitch won't buffer. But that's going to be coming out, and basically the ballot is going to be open until December 28th. So once all the wrestling shows are done, we should be good. I might extend it because I think World's End is on the 29th. But we have time to play now that we are only on a podcast. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next little bit here on A+ Wrestling. A+Productions.com is where you can find all of the shows. A+ Entertainment, A+ Sports, A+ Wrestling. Thank you so much for listening. He's Matt. I'm Boris. And until next time, stay tranquilo.